The endgame for Celia and Ray: murder, prison or escape in Emmerdale. The full truth behind Celia Daniels and Ray Walters is finally coming into focus in Emmerdale, and it paints a far darker picture than anyone could have imagined when the pair first arrived in the village earlier this year. At the beginning, nothing linked them. Celia slipped quietly into rural life, chatting about farming with Moira and presenting herself as just another shrewd businesswoman trying to make her way in the countryside. At the same time, Ray operated in the shadows, manipulating vulnerable teenagers April Windsor and Dylan Penders into dealing drugs on his behalf. Watching it unfold now, the precision feels chilling. Two separate fronts. One carefully controlled operation. It was Leo being rushed to hospital after taking drugs that finally ripped away the illusion. That moment exposed who truly sat at the top of the chain. From there, Celia's mask slipped completely. Viewers soon learned that she wasn't merely involved in the operation, she was running it. Ray, shockingly, was revealed to be her adoptive son, raised inside this criminal world and groomed to serve it. Since that revelation, the storyline has grown steadily darker. Celia has shown time and again that she will go to extreme lengths to protect her empire. Beowulf has been stripped of his freedom and forced into grueling labor on her farm, treated as little more than property. Dylan's fate has been even more harrowing. After daring to suggest going to the police, he was silenced in the most brutal way imaginable. Watching Ray deliberately run him down and then drug him afterwards was one of the most disturbing moments Emmerdale has delivered in years, a stark reminder of just how dangerous both Celia and Ray truly are. Dylan remains in hospital, and no one knows what state he will be in if he wakes. That uncertainty hangs over every scene like a storm cloud, and it may be the very thing that finally makes Celia panic. For the first time, control is slipping. With the walls closing in, Celia makes a decisive move. She plans to run. This is not a desperate, last-minute escape, but something chillingly well-rehearsed. Another farm, another location, another set of victims. Ray, however, hesitates. His relationship with Laurel has shown him a glimpse of a different life, and it's clear he is torn. This is the first real crack between mother and son, and it could prove fatal. Bear is left in terrifying limbo. When he realizes they may leave without him, his fear is unmistakable. Having already lost everything, the thought of being abandoned again is unbearable. Worse still, it raises an unsettling question. What would Celia do to make sure he never talks? So how does this nightmare end? One possibility is murder. Marlon and Rona are trapped, terrified, and pushed far beyond their limits. The show seems to be deliberately taking them to a place where viewers can understand how ordinary people might be driven to do the unthinkable. If either crosses that line, the nightmare might end, but the consequences would haunt them forever. Another outcome is prison. Justice, at last. Yet the story has repeatedly shown how fragile that hope is. Evidence vanishes. Witnesses are paralyzed by fear. Even if Celia and Ray were arrested, there is no guarantee they would stay behind bars. That frustration feels deliberate, as though the show is warning us not to expect a neat legal ending. A split ending is also possible. Celia could die while Ray survives. Ray is undeniably responsible for horrific acts, but he is also a product of Celia's grooming. If she were removed, could he stay in the village and attempt to reinvent himself? Or would his past inevitably drag him back under? It would be the most emotionally complex outcome, and the one that casts the longest shadow. Or perhaps they simply escape. No justice, no closure, just absence, and a trail of devastation left behind. It may be the most unsettling ending of all, precisely because it mirrors real life, a reminder that some villains never truly pay for what they've done. Whatever path Emmerdale chooses, one thing is certain: Celia and Ray's story is racing towards a violent, emotionally devastating conclusion. When it finally breaks, it won't just change their lives, it will permanently scar everyone they leave behind. Dylan Penders faces a tragic fate as danger escalates. Emmerdale has once again hinted at a tragic exit for Dylan Penders in Friday's early ITVX episode. With Dylan still firmly in the clutches of Celia Daniels and Ray Walters, it's clear from the opening moments that this storyline has entered truly perilous territory. Dylan and his girlfriend April Windsor have been dragged far too deep into Celia and Ray's criminal world, used as disposable pawns to keep the village drug operation running. What began with fear and manipulation has escalated into outright violence, and Dylan is paying the price. The turning point came when Dylan spotted Bear being forced into brutal manual labor on Celia's farm. It was the moment he realized just how far her control extended, and the moment he crossed a line in her eyes. Encouraging April to talk to her family was the right thing to do. But in this world, doing the right thing comes at a cost. Celia and Ray soon learned of Dylan's doubts, and Ray acted without hesitation. Running Dylan down wasn't just about silencing him, it was a warning to everyone else. Dylan has clung to life in hospital ever since, while his attackers hover in the background, waiting to see whether he becomes a problem again. Friday's episode opens with Ray calmly lying to Laurel about the hit and run, a chilling reminder of how effortlessly he switches masks. Meanwhile, Marlon and Rona try to reassure Paddy that April is watching over Dylan at the hospital, even though they know how exposed he truly is. The tension is unbearable, because viewers know the truth they are too frightened to say aloud. When Rona later confronts Celia in the pub, the imbalance of power is stark. Rona threatens to expose her, and Celia barely blinks. That lack of fear is far more terrifying than any shouted threat. Driven by desperation, Rona makes a reckless offer. She suggests taking April's place working for Celia, hoping to protect the teenager. Celia's response is cold and cutting. She questions whether Rona even has the temperament for such a life, before casually bringing Dylan into the conversation, hinting that if he becomes a liability, they will deal with him. It's one of the most chilling moments of the episode. Rona snaps back, insisting that a reckoning is coming and that Dylan will tell the police everything when he wakes. The instant regret on her face says everything. Celia dismisses her like an annoyance, but it's clear Rona has said too much. Then comes a fragile glimmer of hope. Paddy reveals that Dylan will soon be brought out of his coma. It should be a moment of relief. Instead, it sparks panic. Rona rushes to Marlon, convinced that Celia and Ray will try to reach Dylan before he can speak. The episode makes one brutal truth clear. Dylan surviving doesn't mean he's safe. In fact, waking up may put him in more danger than ever. With Celia and Ray watching every move, the threat hanging over Dylan has never felt heavier. Mary Goskirk devastated as she's drawn into Celia's sinister web. Mary Goskirk returns to the village next week, but it's far from a happy homecoming. What should have been comforting quickly turns dark as Mary walks straight back into a household riddled with fear, secrets, and barely contained panic. While Mary has been enjoying a break in Cornwall, she's missed the horrifying truth behind April's drug dealing and the brutal control Celia and Ray hold over her granddaughter. She left just days before Rona and Marlon uncovered the full scale of the nightmare facing their family. Now Mary is back, and her sharp instincts make her a dangerous liability. Rona knows that Mary isn't naive. Every awkward silence, every strained exchange risks exposing the truth. And if Mary discovers what Celia and Ray are capable of, she wouldn't stay quiet. That bravery could cost her everything. In another life, this Christmas might have been a chance for healing after the trauma of April's disappearance last year. Instead, Rona is forced into an unthinkable decision. Rather than welcoming her mother home, she quietly concludes that the safest option is to push Mary out of the village altogether. When Rona suggests Mary should move out, the shock is devastating. Mary is left confused and deeply hurt, especially after they've lived together peacefully for so long. Even Rona knows how cruel it sounds, but fear leaves her no other option. Mary immediately senses something is wrong, and her suspicions only deepen. Trapped and unable to tell the truth, Rona lashes out, saying something that cuts deeply and risks destroying their relationship forever. The tragedy is painfully clear. Rona knows she is hurting the person she loves most, but in her mind, a broken relationship is preferable to the risk of Mary becoming Celia's next target. As Mary reels from her daughter's words, one question hangs heavy. Has Rona done enough to protect her mother, or has she only guaranteed that Mary will dig deeper, just as Celia's grip tightens around the family?